Eliza Higgins of CollectiveProject.
So I'm here to talk about a project that's very important to us. It's a school between Bangalore and Hyderabad that we did for the cement factory workers' children. So in 2016, we were approached by the Penna cement factory to do a prototype school for their cement factories in the region. So the first site that we worked on was the oldest of their cement factories. This is an 18-year-old school building that had been, providing free education for their workers for some time. But when the client actually went and saw the facility, she felt that as a company they really could do better. So for us, this was a really unique project. We had been approached many times before to design schools, but we found that the initial discussions were really exciting, and then over time, it would be, we want something super fast, super cheap, really good looking, and we want to fit as many students in as we could. And the difference between this project and some of the other projects that we had discussed was that the client actually had a very sensitive and sophisticated approach to how education could be for their company. So she saw design as a way not only to empower the students, but also to create a better work environment and culture, to draw better teachers to this remote location. So this photo was from our first site visit, and the school actually had been painted right before we came, because the factory workers realized that the client had an interest in the property, and all of a sudden it was spruced up. But although the building was structurally sound, the spaces had a lot to be desired. They were very dark, they were oversized. It was really difficult for the students, especially the small, pre-K and kindergarten students, to actually get to the bathrooms. The bathrooms were located on the far corners of the site because of Vastu. And you can see here, there was a good core, but a lot of room for improvement. So the site is 2 acres, and this area is incredibly hot and incredibly dry. So even though there was a 2-acre campus, the facility actually couldn't be used. Here you see in the distance the cement factory. The area around the cement factory is quite green. It's maintained as an industrial campus, and our site was located on the outskirts of that, surrounded by what you can see as a very dry, rocky, flat. It's actually a plateau, and if you see along the edge, there's a 400 megawatts solar field that has come up there with wind turbines, and then it drops down to the valley below. So when we started, we thought about our goals. And so we wanted to create a strong identity that was playful and unique. We wanted to establish a high-impact and cost-effective experience using locally available materials and local upskilled labor. And we wanted to limit the built form to the existing L-shaped structure and optimize the internal layouts. We did this, and we also added a series of small learning pavilions, which actually built off of, onto the school's existing program. So the client was actually open to taking down the existing structure, but we felt that we could work with what was there. So what we did was we started carving away at it. We added more connectivity on the ground level so that the bathrooms became accessible, and we added these pavilions, as you can see here. We then started to break away at the facade. We introduced more windows, jalis to ensure that there was cross ventilation, and we introduced color and texture as a way to bring identities to the individual classrooms. And gathering spaces in any learning institution are really important. So we used landscape pockets to create shade and to create moments of softness against the architecture. And we also used local regional plants that brought in some life to the space. And on top of this, we introduced a bamboo canopy that is quite playful, and it undulates and it ties together all the learning pavilions and the original L-shaped structure. This canopy was made up of 15,000 12-foot bamboo poles that were also sourced locally through government forestry initiatives. In the lower right-hand side, you can see the entrance to the property. There's a waiting area for the parents, a cycle stand. Every student is given a cycle because they come from quite a distance. And then the hatched area is the covered multi-purpose space that is used during school hours and also as a community resource during non-school hours. And on the top, you see the bamboo canopy tying everything together, the green roofs of the learning pavilions, and on this level is the older students, on the lower level is the younger students. So there were two major challenges when we started working on this project. One was getting materials and labor to a very remote site. We made a conscious effort to source everything from within a 100-kilometer radius. We used local landscape, like we mentioned, the bamboo that was sourced through the government forestry initiatives. Jalis were cast on site using cement from the cement factory. We used a really light concrete wash for the facade. And the cut-up stone that was used was actually from waste that was generated in the neighboring villages where they were doing the stone processing. The second challenge was that this was a CSR project, so the funding came and it went, and so the overall timeline of the project was around 6 years, and during that time the school had to stay operational for the entire time. So it was an incredible process. The students, the teachers, the factory workers, everyone was really flexible, and we just kind of moved around and worked through that entire time. The construction continued, but it was slow. One of the other things that I should mention that was really interesting about this project was that there was no skilled labor, but the engineers from the cement factory who were trained to build factories actually oversaw the construction. So at a civil level, we had better quality construction than we would on many of our residential projects, because the engineers were not coming to it from a construction side where there was all the burden of, we got to do it faster, we got to do it. And, they actually just cared about being precise, and they cared about doing this for the students. So at the end of the project, the factory manager told us that all of his friends were making fun of him and saying, this school took you 6 years. You could build like 5 cement factories in that amount of time. And he said, come to the school and you'll understand why. And there was a sense of pride across the board as this project continued. So these are a few moments during the construction, the classroom. You can see, at this point there were no windows, there was just the jali, the wind was blowing, the dust was coming in, the kids were laughing. I mean, it was really, the energy was incredible every time we went. And the image on the right is the waste stone being laid. So very quickly, I'm just going to show you a video of the school. There's 1 month a year where it's very green, and this captures the life and energy of the school now that it's in use. So, perfectly timed presentation, and I obviously went over, so I'm going to go really fast. Um, the school follows the state board curriculum, which is a great foundation, but the client's brief was to add more programs to this to get the children to have more exposure. As you could see in the video, I mean, the sports came in, arts came in. There's really been so many layers that have been added since we started working on the school. So the art room is here. These are just a few vignettes, a moment to the left with the kids running. And then the image on the right is actually showing the cross ventilation that we created through jollies between the two exterior walls. Malnutrition is a major concern in this area, and the school has done a lot to educate parents on what is the right way to make sure that their children have balanced meals. But we created a dining hall. Food is cooked every day for lunch, and there's actually a plan to do some vocational training as well so the students understand how to make their own meals. We did a little water fountain wall. We had a very cooperative fabricator that helped us set this up. Then these little landscape pockets below the bamboo canopy, moments for study, informal benches, a platform. This is a multi-purpose space that's used outside of school hours as well. The platform in the distance is for school events. A little private outside area for the pre-K and kindergarten students. A moment when the teachers are coming to work for the day. And then the whole language of the school changes when you're on the upper level. The canopy becomes much more graphic and is punctuated by the green roofs above. And this is an image that I find to be quite special. It shows the contrast between the bamboo canopy, the lightness of the intervention that we did, and the cement factory in the distance. It wasn't until we were finished and we were standing and looking back at the factory that we realized that the light pinks, the blues, the greens, the grays actually had influenced our color selection on the overall palette. Like I said, this is a really special project for us, and we hope that this shows how design can have such a positive impact on overlooked communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eliza.